Hey, I'm BADGRAPHIX, and this is a developer commentary on my 2012 game, Castle in the Sky. Castle in the Sky was originally developed with the intention of being a hangout place for members of the Roblox fan website, RHQ, but evolved a few times before finally becoming the exploration-based platformer it is today. When you first enter the game, you're greeted with a view of the front of the castle. After crossing the bridge at the beginning, you're introduced to the main mechanic unique to this game: the keys. Throughout the castle, there are many doors with colored locks on them that can only be opened if you have the key of the same color on you. In this opening tutorial, there are paths on the left and right of the castle's giant drawbridge door. On the right path is a door with a yellow lock. On the left is the key for that lock. You can choose to go to the right first, but you'll quickly find that the door cannot be passed through in your current state. You'll also find on this side your first checkpoint, which upon touching will make that location your new spawn point. With nowhere to progress, the player is forced to go to the left side and touch the key. This is hinted at by the empty list of keys at the top of the screen. Once they touch the key, they'll get a sound effect as feedback and have the key show up in their list. With the key in tow, the player can now cross over to the locked door and enter the castle walls. If they die on the way there, they'll lose their key and have to retrieve it from its spot again. However, once they step on the checkpoint with it, they will see the outline of their key turn a thick black. This is basically a way to signal to the player that, hey, your key is safe now. You won't lose it when you die. Castle in the Sky follows a fairly linear path in its first section. The player will make their way over to the room a floor above the giant drawbridge door. When they get there, they'll see a room with a golden door and get introduced to their long-term goal: reach the top of the 4 towers. They'll get the green key around here, continue down the straight progression route that makes up the early part of the game, and eventually make their way to the center of the castle. From here, the game opens up considerably, and you can choose to conquer the castle towers in any order. I found that a lot of players lost their way when they reached this turning point in the game, so to help them out, I gave them a little bit more direction on where to go. Besides adding an in-game map that shows your current position, I also planted 4 X's on the map. 2 of them will put you directly on the route to reaching a warrior monument, but the other 2 require a bit more looking around because the X leads you to a locked door. These keys are another thing people had trouble with, so I signposted them a bit more clearly than the others. Once all 4 warrior monuments are reached, the player will be able to go back and open the golden door, granting them access to the final segment of the game. This area, appropriately dubbed the Final Corridor, is a straightforward gauntlet that brings together all the obstacles the players had to deal with over the course of the game. At the end of the corridor is the castle's treasure, the Angel Wings. Once you have these, you've got easy access to any area in the castle, and can help other players in need if you so choose. There's even a few bonus areas only accessible with the wings, but I'll let you find those. Besides that, there isn't much of a post-game. Instead, I decided to focus my effort somewhere else: replayability. You see, while Castle in the Sky's progression traditionally looks like this, there are a lot of different routes to get there, meaning you can get things done a lot faster if you take a good path. Not only that, but many of the objectives in the game can be skipped altogether with little ingenuity. For example, here's a shortcut you can do if you have a friend willing to help out. Instead of going through the opening segment like this, you can skip the green key altogether if they activate this bridge for you. That alone shaves about a minute or 2 off your time. This is my favorite part about this game, so when I returned to this project in 2015, I added a lot more ways to sequence break. These are the Sky Ruins. Something I noticed in the original Castle in the Sky that I wasn't expecting was that a lot of people like to explore together when playing the game. The game's obstacles are designed so they can handle multiple players, but they're not really designed for multiple players. So with the Sky Ruins, they sought out to make optional areas that required players to work together to complete. The rewards for completing these areas were special abilities that improved your maneuverability, and as such, let you get around the castle in new ways. It also gave users who completed the game something more to do, because with the wings they could make getting through these Sky Ruins much easier for other users. Between this and the addition of an in-game timer that recorded your final time on a leaderboard, the game became fertile territory for a genuine speedrunning community. Some issues exist that prevented this community from reaching its full potential though, namely the Roblox physics. While I still maintained the leaderboards, It seemed like every other week there would be some new exploit involving the physics of the game to get ridiculous load times. The only way this can be avoided though is if I were to write an entirely custom physics engine for the game, which I wouldn't be against doing actually. The problem is the game is so old already, and I'd essentially just be making a simplified version of the system that's already there. Definitely something you might see in a successor game if I ever end up making one though. Finally, let's talk monetization. The original version of the game didn't have any. In-game transactions weren't even a feature on Roblox when it first came out. When I added the Ascension updates, I monetized it by selling the special abilities you get in the Sky Ruins as shop items. I knew if I let users use these shop versions of the items in speedruns, it would make getting to the top of the leaderboards pay to win. So to prevent that, I treated these shop versions of the items kind of like cheats. If you add one of them from the shop menu to your inventory during the run, it invalidates your final time from getting on the leaderboards. I thought this was a pretty good solution because even though you couldn't get on the leaderboards using these items, it did help inexperienced players get through the game if they were having trouble. All of these items were one-time purchases too. So even if you started a new run, you could still freely add any shop items you'd already purchased into your inventory. So, that's the developer commentary for my Roblox game, Castle in the Sky. If you were interested enough to make it all the way to the end of this video, I'm hoping it gave you a better look at the game from a creator's perspective. Or maybe gave you some ideas to incorporate it into your own projects, I don't know. The game itself can be played on the BADGRAPHIX Creations group page, or you can get there by going to this link. It'll just redirect you. And you can follow updates to my stuff by becoming a member of that same group. Alternatively, just follow me on Twitter or whatever. If you'd like to take a closer look at the castle itself behind the scenes, you can download your own copy of the original game in the link in the description. I have to warn you though, the code in that build of the game is pretty rough. I rewrote the entirety of what you see in that place later down the line, and for good reason. If you're going to incorporate any of the mechanics from this game into your own, I'd suggest rewriting it from scratch. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, just respond in the Reddit response thread I'll probably make for this video. And if that's closed by the time you see this, I don't know, just PM me or something. See ya!